Hi everybody, welcome back to Tea Time. This is episode number 2, and today we're going to be talking about anxiety and panic. So get the kettle on.
Cheers.
This is the one I've been waiting for.
Okay.
So, as always, I'm joined by the lovely Claire from 3Ts. Give your little introduction.
I'm Claire O'Brien. I'm a psychotherapist and the mental health coordinator for the 3Ts.
Amazing. So, let's get straight into it.
Okay. The big thing, I suppose, is that panic is part of anxiety. I'm sure you've heard of panic attacks, and they are part of anxiety. They are caused by anxiety.
Heard of them, lived them, loved them. Part of my life.
So anxiety itself as a standalone then is that feeling of apprehension, that feeling of uneasiness, that feeling of doom and misfortune. It's quite a negative feeling that some people get.
It's that stomach feeling, isn't
Yeah.
it? And it might just be this little bit of a nag, but sometimes it can be like a punch. I've been punched in the stomach. We can't talk about it for legal reasons. Something 3Ts don't want anyone involved with. So let's just carry on.
So anxiety comes from the stress response, which is the fight, flight or freeze response, which basically developed when we were caveman, and it was either eat or be eaten.
We're not like that anymore. We don't need those instincts, but they still exist in us.
That's it, you're right. We do still have the stress response, even though it's slightly unnecessary. And that's what causes that anxiety. That's what leads worry into anxiety. So worry occurs when we're just a little bit concerned that maybe we're not going to hand something in on time, or we're worried about what people might think of a new outfit that we're wearing on a Saturday night. Those are normal everyday worries that we all have to deal with, unfortunately. But sometimes it crosses the line of just normal everyday worries into anxiety. And anxiety often happens when we feel like we're not in control, or we feel that we're overwhelmed.
You can still generate anxiety from things as simple as, will I hand in this essay on time, or is what I'm wearing today good enough? And that's why it can become such a confusing thing for people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anxiety comes from almost nothing, and it becomes excessive, and it also becomes what we call catastrophizing, or a snowballing effect. So you think, oh, is what I'm wearing okay for a Saturday night out? Should I change my shoes? Will I be able to walk in these shoes? What about if I can't walk in these shoes and then all my friends go off without me and I lose my friends, and then maybe I have to go home, and then how am I going to get a taxi home? Will I have enough money to get home? What happens if I don't get home? Am I going to be stuck walking around town? Am I going to be on my own forever? I should just not go out.
I'm not enjoying the fact that you've brought up, is what I'm wearing good enough, more than once, so I'm going to be taking that personally.
I think we look great in our blazers.
I found the coping mechanism was to allow myself to be vulnerable. And what I considered vulnerable, you're telling someone something that they will likely consider endearing because you trust them enough to tell them how you deep down feel.
A lot of the problem with anxiety is people do tend to bottle it up. They tend to not deal with it. They tend to avoid what's making them anxious because maybe they don't want to admit that they have anxiety, be it to themselves or be it to those around them. Every time you avoid something, it becomes even harder to do it the next time and the next time and the next time. And that eventually will lead you to completely withdrawing and socially isolating yourself. And that's a huge problem with anxiety.
What are the signs? What way do we go about this?
3Ts Know the Signs program is good for all mental health issues. We spoke about it around depression, but it's also really good for anxiety. If you don't know how to talk to somebody about your anxiety, or you don't know how to talk to somebody about their anxiety, it's important that you just look out for those signs of anxiety.
Right.
So are they isolating themselves? Are they not calling you back or texting you back? Have you noticed that they're not coming into work or college as often as they used to? Are they sleeping more? Are they using drugs more? They just changes in their behaviour. So you spot those signs, and then again you say to them, I've noticed these things and I'm concerned about you. Is there something going on? Do you feel comfortable talking to me, or do you want to go and talk to somebody that you trust? So you could talk to your GP, you could talk to a family member that you trust, another friend, or some sort of professional like a counsellor. It's really important with anxiety to go and talk to somebody about it. It's very difficult to deal with on your own because you're living in that state of high anxiety and high panic all the time. So just because somebody's suffering from anxiety doesn't necessarily mean that they only have anxiety. Often people with anxiety also have depression. In fact, anxiety and depression like to hang out together. They're best friends. If you think about it this way, if you have anxiety, you don't go out on a Saturday night, you're then going to be starting to worry about whether or not your friends like you and they want to hang out with you, which can cause a huge drop in your mood.
Right.
And we spoke about low mood before. And unfortunately, with low mood and anxiety, it can often cause depression. So, of course, the problem with depression is that it could lead to suicidal ideation. Not always, but some people do deal with suicidal ideation around anxiety as well. And one of the things that the 3Ts are trying to do to help reduce the amount of suicides in Ireland is lobby for a suicide prevention authority.
They also have this great self-help library on their website. It's really interesting reading, but it's also really helpful for if you need help, whether that is for you directly or for someone you are thinking about.
You're absolutely right, James. Having that self-help library there is a great first step to helping you deal with loads of mental health issues like anxiety and panic, depression and low mood, and also anger. We also have on that website a different list of the crisis support helplines as well.
For all the information on what we've talked about today and a pile more, you can visit the 3Ts website at www.3ts.ie. This has been Tea Time with 3Ts and James Mitchell TV. Thank you very much for being here.
No problem, you're welcome.
If you would like to win a James Mitchell TV 3Ts Tea Time, come on, mug, please tag someone that you love in the comments and give them a hug and a mug. See you next time.